Hey, this is Manly with verticallessons.com. In this video, I want to share a struggle of the past year for me, and then most importantly, what helped me be successful despite some of the things I was dealing with. And it's going to be in the form of a list, 11 items, some strategic, some mindsets, some very, very tactical. But I went back and looked at what the 11 key items that really helped me this year the most. So let me share a little bit about the year. Two things quickly. Number one, I've had a physical issue I've been dealing with, a health issue. And that, I just basically 90% of the year I felt like crap for lack of a long drawn out story. And it created a very, very challenging year for me. So that, and then in turn, as you may have experienced, and I'm going to be super vulnerable here with you, because of the physical challenge, I've been challenged mentally and emotionally. So I've got a bit depressed at times. It's just I'm sure you've been there, even if a little hint of that. When you're feeling physically not feeling well, it's hard to feel up mentally, right? And then add all the chaos of life and the pressures we all deal with, and on top of that, and it adds up on you. So fortunately, I've had. Here's the good news: despite that struggle, I've had, by all measures, on paper, one of the most successful years of my life is in many ways. So quick recap of that. I won't go through all the metrics, but from a financial standpoint in my speaking business, it's grown over last year, from top line sales, bottom line profit, dates delivered, every aspect of that I want to watch, from top to bottom. In addition to that, even more impressive or important to me is that I was actually able to spend more quality time, I believe, with my loved ones this year. And the crazy thing about all this is I pulled this off in the middle of, like I said, feeling really, really rough and not being at my best. And it forced me to really pull back and look at only the most essential items to really focus on, so that I could make it through. And I never would have believed that I would have had the year I've had, feeling the way I've felt. So I'm going to give you the 11 items, and just in introducing this to you and setting this up, I just realized I need to include a 12th one. So here's a bonus idea. One thing I just mentioned is really at the core of getting through this year was my mindset around the 80-20 principle. And I've recommended this book before. I think it was the first book I recommended in my newsletter. I've studied the book. It's a complete mindset to really look at everything you're doing and saying, what is bringing me the most value? And this is something we are forced in the corner of doing when you're really overpressured and have a lot on your plate, and or other things or stresses are challenging you. So fundamentally, I want to invite you to visit that as a resource, and I'll include a link to that as well. Now I want to get into the list of the 11 items that really made the biggest difference for me. So the first one I'm going to share with you is just a high-level thought, and that is to do what I just did, and that is to be vulnerable and let people know, be transparent about what you might be facing, whatever challenge that is. Now, I don't expect you to necessarily share with thousands of people like I'm doing in this video. Maybe that's beyond your comfort zone. Fair enough. And very personal things, especially, may not make sense to share it with everyone, but share it with someone and let people know. That's been the first key, and not to whine about it. And I think that's a lot of times we hold back on, nobody wants to hear this. And if you are whining about it, nobody does want to hear it. But when you say, hey, something I'm dealing with, just want to put it out there and just let you know. Thanks for just listening. You can do it in a way that's not whining. It's not a burden on other people. And I think that's one of the fundamental things I see with a lot of people, especially high achievers like yourself and people in my audiences, often don't reach out and get the help they need. So I'm going to start with that, number one. Number two, go very tactical for a moment. What I've noticed when I look back and reflecting on my year is some of the most challenging days are the days in which I actually was the most productive. So physically and mentally, when I woke up on some of these days, I just felt even worse than normal, right? So imagine you just had the flu and you're just crushed. You feel like you've been run over by a car, and then you're just down a little bit, your energy and mental focus. So imagine feeling like that and then still having a really effective day and productive day. How did I do that? I've talked about this as well in previous blogs, and there's going to be a link right here regarding that. And that is to use a habit tracking app. The one I like the most is called Streaks. It's on iOS. There are other great ones on Android as well. I've talked about this before. But having a way to track core habits, and for me, those core habits were with the 80-20 mindset, what are the most essential things I need to get done in a day? So for more details on that, check out the previous blog. But that was absolutely fundamental, simple tactical tool. Number 3 on the list is my meditation pursuit. My pursuit of having some focus and control over all the mental chatter. You can't make it go away. The pursuit of meditation is strengthening the muscle of being aware that you're distracted and refocusing on whatever it is, the task at hand, your breath, if you're in meditation, or however you go about that. I know it sounds all woo-woo, just there's so much research. And if you haven't tried it already, Headspace is a good app. There's a free intro to that to get you introduced. I've recommended that before, I believe, as well as different books. 8-Minute Meditation book, great resource too to help you dip your toe into that. It's not all woo-woo. It can be very practical, and tons of high achievers credit that, including myself, as being one of the most important key items. And that is actually the habit of all the ones I track. That's the one I've been the most consistent on because it's paying off dividends for me in a tremendous way. Meditation, key. That's number 3. Number 4, music. Simple one, right? I'm a musician, as many of you know. I've been since I was a little boy. Love music, and used to listen to it all the time. And it's funny. I'm my own boss, and I'm so relentless. I never let myself play my guitar. Haven't been even listening to music. I'm always like listening to the last speech or focusing on some learning. Something that's going to help me show up and more valuable for you. Some way to further my education and personal and professional development. I just listen to music. What's your favorite music? There's so many studies about music as well, and how it engages you and is socially, it renews and restores us, and it's just magic. I mean, good music, whatever kind of music you like, it lights you up. Listen to more music. It's so simple, but that one is the easy one. I think that could start making a difference right away. Number 5. For me, caffeine. So being smart about that too. So I've been wrestling with my sleep as well. I did a whole blog on that. There'll be a link in here as well for that. But on the flip side of that, getting that energy going and pushing through the day, bulletproof coffee is something I've talked about in some of my programs. You can look that up, or tea or whatever works for you. If you do drink caffeine, or maybe you don't drink caffeine, but you have some drink or some kind of nutritional thing that really gets your energy going early in the day or when you're in a slump without keeping you up late at night. So for me, number 5 is really caffeine, specifically for me, bulletproof coffee or tea. Drink a lot of tea. So number 6, also in this related to number 5, for me, I take a lot of different supplements. I do a lot of experimentation with supplements, trying to keep my peak performance energy up and really be in focus. And this has been incredibly important this year, especially with the challenges I've had with my energy. So of all those that I've tested, and the one that consistently has stayed in the program for years and years is a B-complex supplement. There are a lot of good ones out there. There's one quick one you may have heard of, Energy C, little packets. Those are work effectively for me, and I've been using those for at least probably really more than 20 years. My mother introduced me to them decades ago, more than 20 years ago. So great one to check out. Number 7, exercise, which is pretty obvious, but I want you to know that I am really lazy with exercise. Everybody thinks that because I climb and I am thin that I must be an exercise freak, and I am not. I get just as weighed down with the BS in our head about exercise as anyone else, and I don't really inherently enjoy aerobic activity or any exercise for that matter. So what I've done, especially when these days I didn't feel good, didn't exercise every day, but what I did do is dial down the amount of exercise, and so much so that it'd be hard to even call it exercise. Some days I just call it activity, but I call it micro exercise. So one way in which I implemented this was with my brother, one of my brothers. I had a little accountability on a text message where we would try to do 10 push-ups during the day at some point and text the other one. Got my 10 push-ups in, or 20 or whatever, however many you got in. Some days we'd have our knees involved. It wasn't even just a straight push-up. But the point is just reducing it to just a minimal, such a small amount that you can't lie about it to yourself. It's just easy, like, okay, I can do that no matter how bad I feel, no matter how busy I am. I can get 5 minutes in or get 5 push-ups in or whatever. It's not about, is that going to revolutionize your health? No. But what it's going to help you do is get the habit installed and get out. Maybe it's just a walk with your animal or your loved one, or something. So get some activity, exercise in there, even if it's just a micro amount. That's number 7. Number 8, experiences. And what I did do, even though I didn't feel great, as an example, in the heat of, in the crux of this, me feeling not well, I did a couple trips with my family. One was a weekend trip, and then we did our longer camping trip as usual. And we did that anyway, even though I didn't really feel like it, and it cost some money. Got college coming up, so I got a lot of reasons not to spend money. But I always believe that spending money on experiences, and you don't have to spend a ton of money. It doesn't have to be some fancy vacation. So many of my meaningful experiences are in a tent or spending very little money, but just being connected as humans with people we care about. So go have an experience or a night out. My wife and I have been better about date night as an example. Just little experiences, staycations, long weekends, full-blown vacations. Just re-up your commitment to the experiences with the people you care most about. That's number 8. Number 9, journal, specifically gratitude. 3 things you're grateful for in the morning, at night. That's part of my daily journal. I've got a link to that right here as well. I'll put in where you can get my free daily planner and journal. That's what, of all the different pieces of that, the gratitude is one of the keys that's made the biggest impact in just my mood and trajectory. And there's a ton of research to support that as well, and why that works so effectively. That's number 9. Number 10, also related to the previous one, is writing out a daily plan. I know I just saw an online person getting a lot of flack for their version of their planner being analog or paper. People say, "Oh, we've been on electronics for years." I used to be a business systems guy full time. I'm all about implementing efficient technical solutions to help me or you or whatever. That said, there's a reason why a lot of really high performing people really believe in and have found incredible results with writing out your plan for the day. And I still use tactical, the Outlook and task reminders and project management tools to manage them from a technical standpoint with of course, to keep track of it and all that. But there's something about writing out, and there's a lot of scientific research around this and why this connection between our hand and our brain and writing is still very powerful. So writing out your daily plan of attack the night before, the day of, is incredibly important. And days, I go back and look, and days when I've written down just the 3 most important things I'm going to get done for the day, as an example, I always get more of it done, and I stay more focused throughout the day, and it feels good at the end of the day to go back and check it off. And it also feels good to check it off in the electronic format, but there's something about writing it down. So that's number 10, writing out your daily plan, just a handful of things you want to get done. I know that's a simple idea, but revisit it or commit to consistency if you already do this. That's number 10. Number 11, and lastly, this ties in with number 1, is getting on belay. That is building intentional, meaningful connections with your most important people who support you. So in the first step, I said, let people know and be transparent. So the 11th tip here and key is to be consistent on a daily basis, even though you're not going to feel like it. This was probably the crux of the entire year for me, was when I felt like, I don't want to go to lunch with somebody, a friend, and drag them down because I'm not feeling good or, whatever. So I really kind of got it reclusive. And it was a real challenge for me to reach out to people who I know and trust and I know love me and care for me. And just for lunch or a conversation or a phone call or Zoom or, text message. So that's something I want to really encourage you to do. That also made a huge, huge difference and was very uncomfortable at times throughout the year, but made a big difference. So I hope these have been helpful to you. And if you got something going on, reach out to me if privately, or if you want to share below in the comments something that's helped you, that you'd be comfortable sharing. Appreciate that. And then if you could share this with someone in your life that you think this would be helpful to or meaningful in any way, love for you to share it on social media or privately, whatever works for you. So thanks for checking this video out. I hope it was helpful, and I look forward to serving you continuously in the future. Thanks.